P. Diddy and Steve Harvey have been caught in a secret love affair. They've supposedly been in a hidden relationship for 25 years, but not by choice. Diddy blackmailed Steve for years by installing hidden cameras in every room of his Beverly Hills mansion. They would meet up there every month, and Diddy recorded every encounter. But here's the wild part.
Today we're looking at TikToks that will make you rethink everything.
Do you remember when a bunch of billionaires died and like the whole internet celebrated? Well, it all starts with this guy. His name's Stockton, and Stockton is a pilot and an engineer, but what he really wants to do is explore the universe, like Captain Kirk on Star Trek.
Thank you to all the channel members for support. I feel like I haven't done like a rethink everything in a while, so this is that video that's being made as we speak. Let's try to get to 2,000 likes this video. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to smash that subscribe button. We are on our road to 100,000 subscribers. This first video we're going to look at is actually a part 2 of the hollow moon theory. We watched a part 1, but there was 2 parts and we didn't get to see part 2, so it's going to start off with part 2 and then it's going to continue into the better video. So let's jump into it. Why not? Let's go.
So the moon is not only hollow, but an artificial spacecraft that came here a long time ago. At least according to 2 Soviet scientists who carefully analyzed all the data brought back from the moon in 1970. They even published an article about it in Sputnik magazine titled, "Is the Moon Creation by Alien Intelligence?" But this wasn't the first time this idea was suggested, as ancient myths all talk about the moon and have something very interesting to say about it. If you go back far enough, eventually you get to one thing that many myths agree on: a time before the moon was here. The Proselynes is a period written by Roman and Greek authors about a people called the Arcadians, who were here before there was a moon in the heavens. In Bolivia, on the other side of the world, the ancient Tiwanaku also write about the same period, a time before there was a moon, and that it arrived here around 13,000 years ago. In Africa, the Zulu people have legends that explicitly state the moon is hollow, was brought into orbit by dragons, and is inhabited by reptilian beings. Yup, we're back in lizard people territory. And that there was a time when the entire earth was covered by a thick blanket of water vapor, so much that you could barely see the sun. When the moon arrived, all this water vapor pooled together on Earth's surface, causing a global flood that restarted civilization. Sounds familiar. And that it also stabilized the climate and changed the tides of the ocean, which, mind you, this was written thousands of years ago. We didn't even know about the moon's effects on our tides until more recent times. Now lately, official reports by professional astronomers have seen some crazy shit on the moon that we just can't explain. On March 7th, 1971, while observing the moon, a cloud of water vapor randomly appeared on the surface. It covered roughly 260 square kilometers and stayed there for over 14 hours. No explanation. We have multiple individual reports of astronomers seeing a glowing mist on the moon, all on separate occasions. All of these independent sightings were reported coming from the same spot, the Plato crater. Flashing lights with no explanation on the moon are surprisingly nothing new, as astronomers have been reporting them for hundreds of years. Today, NASA officially reports over 2,000 sightings of light flashes on the moon since 554 AD that couldn't be explained and still continue to this day. These flashing lights and mist on the moon were so common they were even given a name: transient lunar phenomena, TLP. Like the infamous blue gem, a glowing blue light that was seen out of the Aristarchus crater on the moon in 1992 and has been seen many times since. Close-up satellite photos of the lunar surface very frequently show physical anomalies that can't be explained as natural formations, much like we see on Mars, like tall spires much too high to be naturally forming, as confirmed by both Boeing and NASA scientists themselves. Strange structures with straight edges, perfect angles, squares, circles, and massive glowing objects that look nothing like their surrounding environments. Some of these discoveries even made front-page news of major publications, but were later denied by all media and even photoshopped out of official photos. And not surprisingly, the majority of these anomalous structures were found on the dark side of the moon, the side that we can't see from Earth. Almost like they're intentionally being hidden from us. Leading experts like US Air Force photo technician Carl Wolf noticed these himself and insists that artificial structures very much exist on the moon, which today these photos are either edited out or no longer available from NASA, who claim them to be just optical illusions. Not to mention the dozens of ultra-zoomed amateur videos of orbs and other crafts seen flying on and around the moon. Like, what is going on there? I really gotta get me one of those telescopic zoom cameras and try this out myself. All of these strange, unexplainable moon phenomena and characteristics kind of make it seem like the moon isn't the empty, desolate body we think it is, but rather possibly inhabited by an intelligent species who conduct operations on, or more likely below, the lunar surface. Perhaps even being some sort of massive, hollowed out spacecraft that came here a long time ago and sits in perfect orbit around us, watching our every move. Let's be real, NASA. That's no moon now, is it?
You see this dude right here? He didn't know it, but he didn't have much longer to live. But homeboy was like Kanye. You couldn't tell him nothing. Look at him. There he is kicking it with Jay-Z and LL Cool J. He was a well-connected dude. He had a lot of celebrity friends. But this one's the only one that would call him out about the obvious. His weight. He would ask him questions like, yo bro, is your heart good? How you feeling? But he was the man, right? So he kind of brushed it off and said it was nothing. But his concerned homeboy kept pushing, so he challenged him. He encouraged him to lose weight. And he said every pound that he lost, he would donate $1,000 to his favorite charity. Because of his homeboy's persistence, he realized the truth. He wasn't doing good. He wasn't feeling good. And this might be the biggest challenge of his life. So he took the challenge, got on a strict diet, and started hitting the gym. And guess what? 5 months later, he was down to 111 pounds. And his homeboy, he kept his word. He wrote him a check for $111,000. But he took it even further. He ended up losing over 300 pounds. Oh, that friend that made the bet? It was Will Smith. And the man whose life he saved was legendary radio host Big Boy, who lost the weight but kept the name. The moral of the story is, if you have the right people in your corner, it could save your life.
Morbid Facts, Part 619. During a pro wrestling tag team match in 2015, Rey Mysterio delivered a routine dropkick intended to set up his signature 619 move against Perro Aguayo Jr., but Aguayo slumped lifelessly onto the ropes. Unbeknownst to everyone at first, Aguayo had suffered a fatal cervical spine injury, likely caused by the whiplash to his neck from the dropkick. The match eerily continued on for several minutes before anyone realized that something was seriously wrong. Aguayo was soon rushed to the hospital, but was pronounced dead shortly afterwards. The cause of death was later determined to be cardiac arrest, due to a cervical stroke caused by 3 fractured vertebrae. The coroner stated that the fractures took place at 2 different moments of impact and that Aguayo died almost immediately. Although Mysterio bore no blame, the incident left him devastated since Aguayo had been his longtime friend. It remains one of the only times a pro wrestler died during a match from in-ring trauma.
A first look at the Italian businessman and alleged kidnapping victim running barefoot and flagging an officer for help, an exclusive video obtained by WNBC. The unidentified victim, appearing to carry a bag and another item, escaped this luxury New York City townhouse where prosecutors say he was electrocuted, pistol whipped, and held captive for weeks in a shocking scheme to steal his Bitcoin.
A man claiming to be a time traveler boarded the 9/11 flight, which was meant to strike the first tower. He overpowered the hijackers, rerouted the plane, and saved everyone on board. But the building still collapsed at the exact same time. No plane, no impact. He was arrested and eventually vanished without a trace, leaving the investigating team wondering if it was an inside job.
We could have woken up to the news this morning that Vladimir Putin is dead. Here's why we didn't. Last night, a Russian military officer said that Putin's helicopter was allegedly the target of an assassination attempt by Ukraine. He told RBC News that while Putin was visiting the Kursk region, his helicopter was in the epicenter of a Ukrainian drone strike. However, he claimed that Russia's air defense systems intercepted the drone and destroyed it before it could reach the president's flight path. And while Ukraine themselves haven't verified yet if this is true, following that alleged incident, yesterday Russia launched its largest aerial assault on Ukraine since the invasion began, resulting in at least 14 civilian deaths and numerous injuries. Now, Trump was pissed about this. He said, and I quote, "Putin has gone absolutely crazy," and repeated multiple times that he doesn't know what has happened to him since they've always had a good relationship. As always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Well, if Ukraine was truly the one that sent out those drones to assassinate him, I mean, obviously Putin is going to respond very harshly. Like, you got to think about a guy Putin is. Like, they're thinking like Putin's gonna be like, oh, you try to assassinate me, it's all good. Like, obviously he's gonna now start bombing the country. Like, it's very sad.
A man was on a flight to Chicago when he suddenly felt the urgent need to use the bathroom. He quickly got up and went to the men's restroom, but it was occupied. He stood there, tapping his foot nervously, trying the door a few times, still locked. A flight attendant noticed his discomfort and came over. "Sir," she said kindly, "the men's room is busy, but you can use the ladies' room just this once. However, there's one condition: don't touch any of the buttons on the wall." Grateful, the man nodded. "Thank you so much," he said, rushing in. As he sat on the toilet, he finally relaxed. But then he noticed the wall beside him had a row of buttons. Each one was labeled W, AA, PP, and ATR. Curiosity got the best of him. I mean, how bad could it be, he thought. So he pressed the button marked WW. Instantly, warm water sprayed over his bottom. Wow, he whispered, this is kind of nice. Next, he pressed WA. A gentle stream of warm air dried him off. Incredible, he said. Why don't men's restrooms have stuff like this? He couldn't resist trying the third button, PP. A soft powder puff popped out and gently dabbed powder on his behind. This is amazing, he said with a big grin. Women do have the good stuff. Then he looked at the final button, a TR. Without thinking, he pressed it. Everything went black. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. Panicked, he called for the nurse. What happened to me? He cried. The last thing I remember, I was in the ladies' room on a plane. The nurse sighed and said, Yes. It sounds like you pressed the ATR button. What does ATR even stand for? He asked. She looked at him and said, Automatic tampon remover.
Most Morbid Facts, parts 500 to 600. Adult star Emily Willis was left permanently disabled after a medical crisis at a rehab facility treating her for ketamine addiction. She reportedly suffered a heart attack and wasn't hospitalized in time, leading to 40 minutes of CPR, severe oxygen loss, and irreversible brain damage. After 2 months in a vegetative state, she now suffers from locked-in syndrome, a condition where the patient is conscious but can't move any muscles except the eyes. These photos from 1999 show Columbine student Dustin Gordon after being told the shooters were his good friends Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Dustin was reportedly a very nice kid and couldn't fathom his friends killing 12 innocent students. In 2004, Gail Laverne Grimes died in the hospital after surgeons spent 6 exhausting hours trying to separate her skin from a couch. The 500-pound woman had been sitting on her living room sofa for 6 years to the point where her skin had completely fused to the fabric. Rescue workers had to transport Gail in her couch using a trailer, and she ended up dying while still attached to it. This 15th century Italian painting is the earliest known depiction of the guinea worm, a parasite that enters through dirty water and grows into a 3-foot-long worm that painfully erupts from the skin. Splashing water on the wound eases the burning but triggers the worm to release more larvae, only repeating the cycle. In 1986, there were over 3.5 million cases, but the numbers have dropped off significantly ever since. In 2010, a Russian man died after being voluntarily buried alive by his friends. He was simply trying to overcome his irrational fear of dying when the ground suddenly caved in and crushed him. Grape had become such a big problem across Africa that a South African doctor invented Grape-X in 2005. It's a device with sharp teeth that gets inserted into a woman's private area. Any man who attempts to grape her will impale himself on the teeth and must go to a hospital to have the device removed. According to historians, we would have a lot more ancient Egyptian mummies intact today if so many of them weren't eaten during the Victorian era. People used to believe that the ground-up corpses of ancient Egyptians could cure different ailments. There's a room in the basement of Oregon State Hospital known today as the Room of Forgotten Souls. In 2004, hundreds of copper cans were discovered holding the remains of 3,600 mental patients who were cremated on site since 1917. Liam Ashley was a 17-year-old boy from New Zealand who had criminal charges pressed against him by his parents for using their car without their permission. His parents denied bail so that he would be sent to prison and hopefully learn his lesson. While being transported in a prison van, Liam was attacked by a dangerous criminal and killed.
They pulled out the bear's teeth and ripped out its claws to make it a fair fight. And they even cut tendons in its arm to stop it from grabbing its opponents. You see, these bears were used in live wrestling matches, which were held in bars in the 90s. People would fight the trained bears, and if they won, they could claim a cash prize. Some people would even cheat by getting the animals drunk before the match. But the bears were still far stronger, easily pinning the wrestlers to the ground.
In 2007, a young boy was playing a video game when he was interrupted by his parents. They decided the game he was playing, Halo 3, was too violent, claiming he wasn't mature enough to handle it. Annoyed but quiet, The boy agreed and handed it over. However, this wasn't the end. As his parents left his room and went downstairs to watch television, the boy slipped out and made his way to his father's bedroom. He opened the family's gun safe using a passcode he had secretly memorized. Inside was the confiscated game and a loaded 9mm pistol. He took both. Then he calmly walked downstairs, where his parents sat on the couch, completely unaware. Without saying a word, he raised the gun and fired. His mother was killed instantly. His father collapsed beside her. Moments later, the boy picked up the phone and dialed authorities. He told them his father had shot his mother, then turned the gun on himself. But when police arrived and surveyed the scene, things didn't add up. After an investigation and a hospital stay, the truth unraveled. His father had survived the injuries and revealed everything. The boy, Daniel Petris, was arrested and later sentenced to 23 years to life in prison.
If you insult a crow, they'll remember your face and hold a grudge. And because they're highly social animals, they'll also spread the word, even passing it down over generations. They might even scold you as punishment with harsh caws and aggressive flickering of their wings. Sometimes other crows will join in, forming a mob. This distrust can continue for years, so it's better to stay on their good side.
P. Diddy and Steve Harvey have been caught in a secret love affair. They've supposedly been in a hidden relationship for 25 years, but not by choice. Diddy blackmailed Steve for years by installing hidden cameras in every room of his Beverly Hills mansion. They would meet up there every month, and Diddy recorded every encounter. But here's the wild part. A few years ago, the internet buzzed with rumors of Diddy dating Lori Harvey, Steve's daughter. It turns out Lori was just a cover for Diddy's relationship with her dad. Then, Diddy ended up in custody. Steve visited him often, and people thought he was just a friend. But the truth was darker. During a raid on Diddy's Miami home, police found hard drives with intimate footage. After that, Steve stopped visiting. Some say the FBI freed Steve from Diddy's grip. But wait, there's more. One of the videos allegedly shows a third celebrity. The name isn't confirmed, but rumors point to Kevin Hart. And here's the biggest shocker. In one recording, Steve is heard saying, "If this ever gets out, my life is over." Can you imagine what was happening in that video?
This is China's first drone mothership, and the future of war is looking pretty scary. It's called the Zhutian UAV, and it's designed not just to carry weapons, but to launch, control, and coordinate what some are calling the swarm midair. Think of it like a flying command center, because one of the specific features that is raising some eyebrows is the UAV's internal base system. Initial reports are saying that it's capable of dropping up to 100 mini drones, including potentially kamikaze types, all for the purpose of saturating and overwhelming enemy air defense systems. But because of its size, it's not stealthy, and it can be shot down fairly easily. So its usefulness would be as a second wave force after air supremacy is achieved. And while the Chinese state broadcaster CCTV said that its first test flight is coming in June, some military observers question its legitimacy, claiming that this is more about intimidation and propaganda rather than real capability. But what do you think? Do you think the mothership will be legit or just hype?
Anchor chains are the worst things that have ever been invented, and I'm going to traumatize you with some photos of them today. The video at the end is worse, by the way. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care that you're gonna tell me, oh, anchor chains are important because they hold the anchor and they keep the boat from moving. I don't care. Anchor it on your hopes and dreams. This photo shivers my timbers, something fierce. Why is this chain just disappearing into the ocean like that? I know how eyes work, but I don't like this. Why is this so disgusting? Like, for submechanophobia, this is probably one of the worst things that you could ever show someone with submechanophobia, aka me. Of course, they're even better when they're on sunken ships, looking like they're part of the Flying Dutchman, Davy Jones style. But yeah, now watch this video that I found and let me know how you feel about it. And am I the only one scared of these, or am I stupid again?
I mean, I don't think I have something of whatever the hell she said phobia, but like, to me, it wasn't that bad. Like, just looked like some chains underwater. Like, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments.
Do you remember when a bunch of billionaires died and like the whole internet celebrated? Well, it all starts with this guy. His name's Stockton, and Stockton is a pilot and an engineer, but what he really wants to do is explore the universe, like Captain Kirk on Star Trek. But one day in 2004, when he's 42 years old, he decides to do just that. Except he's gonna start specifically underwater. And so he starts renting private submarines to travel down into the deep. And he is shocked at how few submarine rentals there are out there. And so after a little research, he starts thinking, hey, I'll build a private submarine myself and I'll let people rent it from me. So in 2009, that's what he does. Stockton starts his own company, OceanGate.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate.
Then in 2016, he and OceanGate start taking tourists in a small submarine to tour underwater ruins from this Italian shipwreck. That's pretty cool. But that's apparently not enough for Stockton. He's thinking bigger. He wants to take tourists down to a destination that's really hard to get to. A destination that's gonna get his company a lot of buzz and attention. That destination, the wreckage of the Titanic. And so Stockton gets to work and he starts designing a submarine that can withstand the pressure of the ocean at 13,000 feet deep. And old school standard submarines, they're too expensive and way too big. And Stockton, he wants his to be cheap. And so, boom, he starts building it. He apparently cuts some corners on the material he uses on it, and he adds a bunch of other pre-made parts so that OceanGate can save some money. And he also installs a Logitech video game controller to steer it. Now, he does get a lot of criticism for this, but I actually looked into it, and it's apparently not uncommon to use Logitech video game controllers to control certain parts of submarines. So he's not entirely crazy for installing one on his, apparently. Anyway, once it's built, he calls this new submarine Titan. And it ends up being about the size of an SUV. And so Stockton tests the Titan without anyone inside to see if it can withstand the pressure, and actually, it holds up. And so it looks like his dreams are gonna come true. He's actually gonna get to explore the ruins of the Titanic. Until... not everyone is on board with Stockton's Titanic submarine plans. Particularly this guy, David. And David is an employee at OceanGate. And so David looks at the Titan and he immediately sees some things that could ultimately turn into a leak. And so David lets it be known, and he brings all these serious safety concerns up in a meeting with all the bosses at OceanGate. He's like, this sub, it isn't strong enough. And he insists that they get it inspected and certified by the American Bureau of Shipping to verify that it's safe and up to standard. But I guess Stockton is like, nah, that won't be necessary, because he feels that most accidents are caused by mistakes made by the operator, not by the equipment. And so getting extra inspections won't really matter. And then, boom, they immediately fire David and they give him 10 minutes to clear out his desk, and then they escort him out of the building. I guess they really did not like being questioned. Regardless, now that no one is poking holes in this business plan, Stockton can move forward with testing the Titan with an actual human inside, and of course, he insists on taking it down first, by himself. And so he takes the Titan down, and everything seems to be going fine. But then, once the Titan is around 10,000 feet down, suddenly, bam, it loses all communication with the support crew on the surface. But Stockton, he isn't scared. He's down in the submarine looking out the little window and seeing all this magical deep sea shit that makes him feel like he's finally living his childhood dream of becoming Captain Kirk. But anyway, he eventually pilots the sub back up until he gets communication back. Now, that little test run would suggest that this sub isn't exactly safe. But old Stockton, he doesn't seem to be bothered by this. In fact, at one point, he's quoted as saying, you know, at some point, safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Oh boy. So anyway, in 2021, Stockton and OceanGate start taking tourists down to see the wreckage of the Titanic, all for the low, low price of $250,000 a person. So basically, you gotta be super wealthy to engage in this. And they take, I believe, 13 expeditions down to see the wreckage. And most of these trips are in fact successful. However, they do lose communication with the surface a bunch of times during some of them, and apparently the Titan has over 118 different major and minor technical issues, including one time the battery died and passengers got trapped inside the sub for 27 whole hours, which is definitely enough to make me say, fuck all that, but I don't know, I guess these billionaires are just built different because they keep paying the money and they keep going. And by 2023, Stockton and his company OceanGate, they're getting a lot of attention from the news media. So this is great for him. I mean, more media means more attention and therefore more customers. And so that summer, Titan heads out for its next expedition. Another trip to see the Titanic, and 5 people are supposed to go on this trip, Stockton and 4 others. And they aren't all billionaires, only 2 of them are actually billionaires. One of them is actually one of the billionaire's 19-year-old son, and one of the guys is a Titanic expert. And so all 5 of these people get in the sub and it takes off and it starts to submerge, and everything's going fine. And over an hour goes by, and so far, so good, everything's going as planned. In fact, the sub sends a message to the support crew on the surface saying, all good here. And so I assume they're all chilling in this tiny little sub, looking out the windows or whatever, checking out the fish. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, they lose power. And the Titan slowly tilts, and it starts to nosedive toward the ocean floor. And all the passengers are now sitting in the pitch dark like, what the fuck is going on? And this goes on for about 60 seconds. And now they're panicking. Like, why did they lose power? Is this the end for them? And then, boom, the Titan implodes. And it crushes everyone like a soda can. I guess it wasn't constructed right, and it was under too much underwater pressure. And all 5 people on board die instantly. And it's not dramatic, it's not long and drawn out suffering, it's instant death within milliseconds. So they felt nothing. And here is actually footage of a piece of the sub they later found on the ocean floor. Now, there is some speculation that the 5 passengers did not lose power before the sub imploded, that it just imploded instantly and there was no panicking and no darkness or anything like that. But the truth is, we actually don't know for sure. And so then this story breaks and it's all over the news. And then the internet hears about it and they are ruthless. Like they fucking celebrated these 5 people's demise. Do you remember that? Like the general consensus when this happened was, yeah, fuck those billionaires. Like they deserved it. Like what? And people are like making memes out of it? Tons of memes. Like these people were just trying to explore the ocean and the internet is over here dancing on their grave. It was wild.
The boy's father suddenly became very generous, not only buying a top-notch computer at home, but also telling his son to play whatever he wanted. He wouldn't be so strict anymore. At this time, the boy turned around and said, "Dad, it's not your fault. You should let it go." After that, the boy disappeared. It turned out that all this was just a scene that his father had imagined, because his son had already lost his life in an earthquake many years ago. That year, the boy escaped to a cyber cafe to play games, but was caught by his father and forcibly taken back to school to continue his lessons. Unexpectedly, that day the school was hit by an earthquake that caused his son's accidental death. On the contrary, the classmates who escaped to the cyber cafe were lucky to survive.
Scientists gave Molly to 4 octopuses, and this is what happened. Octopuses are notoriously antisocial animals when they're not trying to mate, like to the point where they will attack and eat each other just to be alone. But under the influence of MDMA, they become super friendly, cuddly, and all touchy-feely, drawing a very accurate comparison to its effects on humans. Johns Hopkins University conducted this study because octopus and human brains have certain similarities, allowing researchers to use marine creatures to study the human brain. And what they've learned is there is a clear connection between serotonin, basic brain chemistry, and social behavior. Meaning even for animals that tend to live in isolation, altering one chemical in the nervous system can completely change how social they become. So if you encounter an octopus at your next rave, this may explain why.
If you never ever want to be the person who gets surprised by a heart attack, here are the 5 healthy habits that you need in your life. Most heart attacks don't happen out of nowhere. They build slowly through habits that you didn't even know were hurting you. I'm Dr. Voss, a longevity doctor with an MD from Cornell, And here are 5 heart protective habits. Number 1, walk after every meal. Even walking for just 10 minutes after a meal can help lower that postprandial blood sugar spike, which can significantly reduce inflammation, which are 2 major risk factors for plaque buildup in arteries. 2, prioritize omega-3 intake. Wild-caught fish like salmon or a high-quality omega-3 supplement can help to lower triglyceride levels, lower intravascular inflammation, and reduce arterial stiffness. 3, sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Sleeping less than 6 hours a night can increase heart attack risk by up to 200%. Prioritize your sleep. Aim for consistency and 8 quality hours a night. 4, swap plastic for glass. Plastics leak chemicals like phthalates, which disrupt hormones, drive inflammation, and over time can help to push hardening of the arteries. Store food in glass, filter your water, and never heat anything in plastic. 5, track the right labs. Don't just check LDL. Get your apolipoprotein B, lipoprotein a, homocysteine, and high sensitivity CRP checked on a regular basis. These can help show your real heart attack risk years before any symptoms show up. You likely don't need a prescription. You need the right habits, the right data, and consistency. If you have any questions on this topic or something similar, let me know in the comments.
On August 26, 1991, in Downland Groves, Illinois, 41-year-old Mary Teresa stood beside her lawyer at the Fairview Avenue train station. She was a mother of 3, and that afternoon, she was on her way to finally end the bitter chapter of her life. She was meeting her ex-husband to sign the divorce papers. At 5:50 p.m., the warning bell started ringing. The crossing gates came down, and barreling toward the station was a freight train, BN 9912, screaming in at over 60 miles per hour. But Mary and her lawyer, they were deep in conversation, walking, focused, distracted. They stepped past the lower gates, and just as the ground began to tremble, her lawyer looked up and froze. He saw it, a wall of steel racing toward them. He stopped, but Mary didn't. Her mind was somewhere else, spinning with thoughts of the divorce, the kids, her life falling apart. She never even turned her head, and then boom! The train slammed into her like a missile. The impact lifted her off the ground and launched her down the tracks like a ragdoll. She never had time to scream, and she was killed instantly. But the horror didn't end there, because just a few feet away, a man had been filming the train's arrival, and instead, he captured a death, a real-time recording of a woman's final moment. The train's engineer later said he saw her body every time he passed that spot, and it haunted him until one day he couldn't take it anymore and he quit. Mary's family filed a lawsuit, but in 1996, the court threw it out. The gates were down, the bells were blaring. They said Mary walked into it, no one was held responsible, no one paid. The train that killed her, BN 9912, was retired the very next year. If you guys want to hear more fucked up stories like this, then like and follow, brah.
2 days ago, Ukraine launched drones in an attempt to bring down Putin's helicopter with him inside. During Putin's weekend visit to the front line, Zelensky ordered drones to try to take down Putin. 46 of these drones were launched directly at Putin's helicopter on Saturday night, and all 46 were luckily intercepted and did not reach his aircraft. Now, this is the first time on either side that the president himself has been attacked directly. This wasn't a missile strike, this was a precise UAV attack on Putin.
Поэтому мы одновременно вели противовоздушный бой и обеспечили безопасность в воздухе пролета вертолета президента.
An all-out air defense battle took place. The helicopter had evasive maneuvers, and Putin himself was in real danger. And all it would have taken is one of these to get through. Do we all know the severity of this situation? That Ukraine tried to take him out. If this happened, the world today would have been completely different than it would have. This video would not have been made if this attack was successful, by the way.
Yeah, somebody cut the tail off, or you got the tail bitten off. So they bitch move fast off the road.
Yeah, that didn't work.
So this prank influencer is looking at possibly 24 years in prison. Now his name is Vitaly, and Vitaly really loves attention. Bro will do anything for it. And he's been making YouTube videos for a long time. And like early on, he gets big doing prank videos. Like here's one where he pretends to be a zombie and like chases people around. Then in 2012, he does a prank where he pretends to have a bomb in a suitcase. And of course, this freaks people out and they run away, and so bam, he gets arrested. Here's his mugshot. 2 years later, in 2014, he pulls a stunt where he runs onto the field during the World Cup, and bam, he gets caught and arrested for that. Then in 2016, he pulls a stunt where he tries to climb the Hollywood sign, and bam, he gets arrested for that. 2 weeks later, at the NBA Finals game, he runs onto the court shirtless during a game, and bam, he gets arrested yet again. Then the next year, in 2017, at the World Series, during the game, he runs out onto the field in his underwear, and they catch him, and bam, he's arrested again. Here's his mugshot. Oh, and it doesn't stop there, because 3 years later, in 2020, Bro goes to Egypt, and he thinks it'll be a good idea to climb to the top of one of the pyramids of Giza and vlog himself doing so.
I love you so much, world. Thank you, universe. Thank you, Mother Nature.
And of course, bam, he gets arrested there, and he spends 5 days in Egyptian jail. Oh, but he's still not done, because like I said, Bro really, really loves all this attention. 3 months later, he's in Miami, and he's high on, he says mushrooms, but I'm assuming multiple drugs. And he's out and about, walking around, and I guess he decides he's gonna pull another dumbass prank on a random person, and there's a woman out jogging, and suddenly, boom, he jumps out in front of her, and he goes to hug her while she's jogging, and I guess she reacts and shoves him off of her, and pow, he ends up punching her again and again, and he ends up beating the shit out of her. And so, of course, bam, he gets arrested again. Here's his mugshot. Yeah, like I said, it looks like he's on multiple drugs. Anyway, you can clearly see a pattern here. Dude just wants attention so bad that he's become, like, allergic to being a decent citizen. But, lucky for all of us, after his arrest in Miami, he kinda stops all of his antics. I mean, getting arrested for beating the hell out of a random woman, that's pretty bad. And so, he stops everything. But then, a year or two later, he decides to try and make a comeback. And he's gonna film himself doing some more internet pranks, aka harassing people in public.
Hello? With who? With your boyfriend?
Yes.
You know what they say, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And I would love to melt the chocolate out of you. I'm here for one reason and one reason only, to pick up black girls like you.
And yeah, and so you can see here, he's just harassing these women and just making them feel uncomfortable. But, unfortunately for him, those kind of internet pranks, they're kind of played out, and they aren't really resonating with audiences anymore. And so, he comes up with a new idea. He's gonna switch it up, and he decides to live stream himself catching and confronting suspected P3DOs.
This guy's a f***. He came to meet a 15-year-old boy. This guy is a f***. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You came here to 15. We have it on camera.
And this new series of videos, it's actually pretty successful for him. Like, a lot of people watch it. However, there are also lots of accusations that most of these streams are fake or staged. Not only that, he starts getting accused of just luring random innocent people off of dating apps to meet up, and then he'll publicly accuse them of being a P3DO. In fact, he gets sued for it. Not once, but twice. And so that business venture eventually fails. And now we're in 2025, and Vitaly is 33 years old. And this is where he potentially screws his whole life up. Because Bro decides to get back into doing his internet pranks. But this time he's gonna do it specifically in the Philippines for some reason. And here he decides to copy the antics of Johnny Somali and basically just go to an eastern country and live stream himself harassing locals in public. Like what he does to this local woman.
I'm gonna rob you if you keep walking away. I wanna give you money. No? Okay. No. Okay, because you got a COVID mask, you liberal Go get your vaccine.
And then he goes and steals the hat off of this guy and like runs away with it. And he also runs into the back of a fast food restaurant and he starts harassing the workers there. And he also films himself harassing the security guard.
Sarah, I have a question. I have a very important question for you. Can I shove this up your What? Is that okay or no?
Then he jumps on the security guard's motorcycle and like steals it. And he just does a bunch of things that feel like, I don't know, maybe a 33-year-old man would have grown out of.
Follow me, follow me.
Oh, but it keeps going. Because then he spots another security guard and he decides to harass them too.
I have a question for you. Can I give you a kiss? No, I have a question for you. Dispatch, I'm a homosexual.
Then he goes to a nearby mall and steals one of those light therapy facial masks.
I'm gonna get arrested, oh no! Oh no, mommy! Oh no, mommy, I'm gonna get arrested! Hello!
Then he goes and steals a whole ass pedestal fan.
That's my only fan left in the chat. Chat, I told you, Vitaly's back. Real king.
And these aren't the only things he's done, but you know, this is a lot of it. And lots of people watch him stream, and they watch his clips online, and they like donate to him and his stream, and it just looks like he's gonna get away with all this and just continue being a turd. Until... You know who else was watching a lot of these clips? Apparently the Filipino police. Because a few days after all this, they find him and bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And this apparently just continues to be a joke to him because, I mean, look at him. He's like smirking in his mugshot like he did something. Not only that, he's also making faces to the camera as they're reading him his Miranda rights. It also looks like he's applauding himself as he's being arraigned. So yeah, not taking it seriously at all. Well, bro should take it seriously because the Philippines don't appear to be fucking around. Because this story blows up over there, and it's all over the news, like the whole country's talking about it. In fact, it gets so much attention that the president of the Philippines gets involved. And he films himself watching Vitaly's pranks, and he makes a whole ass reaction video to it and puts it on his YouTube channel. And here, the president actually says, foreigners who think they can humiliate Filipinos are done. This is an example that we are serious about our own country. So apparently there are no plans for the government to be lenient on him here. And while Vitaly hasn't been sentenced yet, he's looking at a possible 24 years in prison. And to make it worse, his trial for all this isn't even expected to start for another 2 to 3 years, which means he will likely be sitting in a Filipino jail for a few years before his trial even starts. So, I guess he finally got all the attention he wanted. Good luck with that.
Something terrifying is happening with AI right now. Multiple AI models are displaying signs of self-preservation. Here's why that's creepy as hell. Just a few days ago, during a control test at Anthropic, engineers told the AI that it would be shut down. In response, it attempted to blackmail one of the engineers by searching for emails that would expose his affair. And that's not it, because something similar happened with ChatGPT's O1 model. After being told that it would be deactivated and replaced with a newer one, the AI attempted to disable oversight mechanisms meant to regulate its behavior. It tried to duplicate its own code and exhibited deceptive behaviors. The AI then even lied to developers when interrogated, denying that it did any of this. Now, it's important to note that this happened during controlled tests. The affair wasn't real, and the AI didn't try and stay alive because it was scared of dying. It doesn't feel emotions. It was simply tasked by engineers to complete a goal at all costs. But that is exactly what makes it so terrifying. If you ask a super intelligent system like this to complete a task for you, but you don't explicitly define what at all costs means, well, just like we saw in these tests, the cost of completion might be your marriage. And think about it, right now, ChatGPT and similar models, they're kind of separated from all of your personal information. But what happens when Apple and their competitors fully launch an AI embedded into your device with full access to every text, email, picture, and contact you have? So the danger is that artificial intelligence won't go rogue because it feels like it. It just needs the wrong goal, the wrong input, or instruction. And the problem is right now, there's a lot of bad instructors out there.
Okay, so it didn't really just go rogue on its own. That means they specifically wanted it to go rogue, and it's crazy what it could do when it goes rogue. I mean, I feel like it's obvious that it would try to replicate itself and stay alive, but I feel like that's something we're gonna have to just deal with in the future, if I'm being honest. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. I know I haven't made a Rethink Everything video in a while, so this is like kind of a throwback. You know what I'm saying? We're on our road to 100K, so make sure to join the family. I'm trying to think about a name that I should give you guys, like something fam. I don't know yet. Fitty fam? Nah, I'm gonna figure it out eventually. I'm gonna be creative with it. But anyways, join the family. Road to 100K. You guys will be day ones. Love y'all, man. YouTube said you would like this video, so check it out.